Hello, folks. I'm doing an update for the best centers of all time, and I'm making my best all-star team of all time, and I'm refreshing everything, and I'm glad I've had a developed perspective from years of looking at this, really. But I'm just not that lucky person that's had time to study. Of course, I have made time to study other things too, politics and other things, and so that time goes into my basketball study time, my football study time. I don't get to do it. My Bible study time. So but I'm just not that lucky. I haven't had a break from being around people who I spend a lot of time with. So I found some incomplete analysis right after I made the video the other day, and it was about centers that breaking down the centers in a way that helps you understand who really is the best. Because there are people with way better memories than me. I'm not a great memory person. When it comes to dates for history tests and stuff, I don't remember the dates. I don't remember names well. I do remember pivotal points well. Stuff that some of the smartest people overlook, and they think it's irrelevant. Who cares? I'm just memorizing it for the test. And they don't have a problem memorizing. But anyway, that's the way my mind thinks a little bit. I forget people's names. But I like integrity. I like the truth. We're seeking the truth here. I'm a truth seeker. Not just because I believe I'm in religious things beyond this earth, and I believe in the Bible. I believe in Jesus Christ. He rose from the dead. I mean, he's the only one that gave us evidence of a second life. So I've had to look at that, right? And he showed us love and forgiveness, and forgiveness works, redemption works. We've seen it where players get injured and they get redeemed, and some of them succeed at that afterwards. Sometimes they don't. But so I've found some shortcomings. I ended not by completing and saying that I'm sticking with David Robinson, because David Robinson is one of my favorite players because I think he's the best and underrated. But I did find some things and reasons that they're not lying to us why they took him off the tops of all time. And it's because in, I think, 1995, when he lost to Shaquille, it says Shaquille and Hakeem Olajuwon. Maybe, I don't know how he lost to both, but maybe on the final game of the season he lost, and then he lost to one of them in the playoffs. Well, but the problem really was Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman had a motorcycle wreck, separated his shoulder, and then he was having anger problems after that, I guess. He probably wanted to be his best, and maybe that affected his temperament. I'm just guessing. But he was not getting in the team huddles or anything in the playoffs. So that affected David Robinson's play. The whole team. It affected the whole team. So that's not just that they weren't able to double team Shaq or Hakeem like they had been planning to do because of Dennis Rodman's issue. And so they were also able to double and triple team David Robinson. But the difference between David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as my update here, is that it's true that I went through all the PERs ratings. I went through the defensive ratings, the offensive ratings, and all that stuff. David Robinson's usually right. He's one of the tops. He's for the centers. For some reason on those ratings, he gets the top. But sometimes it's your team that gets you to the top. Not always. A PER rating is mostly individual. But for some reason, though, and that's usually a lot of times you're looking at regular season instead of in the playoffs. So what happened, though, with David Robinson, it wasn't just those years. It seems that in the playoffs, his shooting percentage goes down. Okay? And so Shaq's and all the other guys on my list, we'll just say, for now, I'll just say that. All the other guys on my tops list, their shooting percentage does not go down in the playoffs. And there's a lot of people whose shooting percentage goes down in the playoffs because they're playing tougher defense. But some of these guys actually saved their energy for the playoffs, like Shaq. He gets in his best shape by the playoffs and stuff. And so his numbers didn't go down at all, maybe up a little bit if I recall. I forget. So anyhow, I'm just going to tell you my team because I can't believe I'm at 4 minutes and 30 seconds already. But I'm going to tell you my team updated, and it's not concluded yet. I did a whole team, and I got, I don't know if I did 15 players. But I did, I went with LeBron James and Steph Curry at point guard. And now I'm thinking of defense and everything, but Steph Curry is my only non-elite defensive player. And he's not as bad as what people say on defense. His ratings decent. I've seen he hustles on defense, but I got LeBron James, and I left because of all the stuff I studied. I left out Magic because LeBron edges him out on defense at the point guard. LeBron may edge out most regular point guards like Chris Paul because of his size and stuff. Even though some of them have a little better defense, like Chris Paul has a certain better defensive rating, but then they say, but you still want Magic even because of his height for defense, even though he can be slow guarding guards. So then LeBron's better than Magic on defense, according to all the stats and ratings. Although Magic may have more steals. I don't know if he has more for the whole career, but for 2 of the years he did for sure. So I'm pretty sure. And so I'm going to go through without explaining. That's who I got at point guard. I got Michael Jordan and why did I forget his name? That's just the one name I can't remember because I just looked his name up earlier. Grant Hill. Grant Hill, I put it shooting guard because of his shooting percentage, his defense, the fact that he can switch over to small forward. And so maybe I just put 2 players at each position. I didn't do 15 yet. And maybe I won't. I'll just do 2 at each position. So in my power forward, I put Larry Bird. I went ahead and put Larry Bird. He's not the best man-to-man defender, but he is about the best team defender in spaces. And, so that's what people don't know about him. He has a high percentage rating on defense, too. And so, but his offense is good. He rebounds good. He does a lot of things good. So I'm deciding between Kevin and Durant and Kawhi Leonard. I had put Kevin Durant at first, but I think I want more defense and a high percent shooting rate, just like almost as good as Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. So I may put Kawhi Leonard behind Larry Bird as another defender. And then I got Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. These are the main things I want to explain because these are what I studied. Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan at power forward. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And the centers, I got Hakeem Olajuwon and Wilt Chamberlain. So I started in Hakeem, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason I chose Wilt Chamberlain. I studied Kareem Abdul-Jabbar a lot, and I actually saw things I was more impressed with that I hadn't noticed before. And it was really hard to decide between Kareem. I'm on the verge of choosing Kareem, and I would put him maybe in Wilt's spot instead of Hakeem's spot because Olajuwon. The reason I like Olajuwon, Kevin Garnett, and Tim Duncan is because they're some of the best ever post players for being able to switch and cover point guards and guards. So that's the thing. And Wilt Chamberlain's not even known for that, but he's better than Kareem at that. See? So I wanted the players that could switch, and Shaquille O'Neal can't do that. Somebody that can is Dwight Howard. He can do that and does it even better than Wilt, according to what I've read about. And you can see why. But I still wanted one more scorer, so I got Wilt Chamberlain as the scorer, and he is good at covering the perimeter, but he's switching and covering perimeter players, but he's not that good. But he's better than Kareem on that. He's better than Bill Russell on that. The reason I don't have Bill Russell, as good as he is on defense, maybe the best post defender ever. They say for sure by far he's the best post defender ever. That's people feel certain about that. Not even close. But his shooting percentage is pretty bad. So that's similar to what I found out with David Robinson in the playoffs. And now, if you look at his stats in the regular season, he's got a good shooting percentage. So I overlooked that by seeing that. I'm like, even today I went back and looked. I'm thinking, wait, I thought his numbers were worse than that. And I was going through real fast, and I'm like looking at his regular season. And then I forgot to look at his playoff again. And then later I went back and checked the playoff, and I'm like, I had him at my top actually because I forgot to check the playoff shooting percentage. And I'm thinking, okay, I've studied everything, and David Robinson looks like the best one. So I guess I was right about him being underrated. But if you look at his playoff stats, he doesn't shoot as well. That doesn't mean there's a possibility because he played with Tim Duncan that he let Tim Duncan take the inside shots, and he may have stepped to take outside shots, and maybe he mostly took outside shots in the playoffs. Maybe he did that and focused on defense. That's possible. So I'm not. You can't know everything. You can learn. I probably could learn that and find out. Well, and they might tell me No, he just got shut down. He can't handle the defensive load. He does play. He is the best defender, debatably the best defensive player, um, for shot blocks and stuff. And the fact he can switch and guard the perimeter. That's another reason I wanted to keep him. But if he can't shoot well against stronger defenses, you have a strong defense. All the defenses, the ones in the playoffs, the teams in the playoffs have the strongest defenses, and they're going to have the best centers for him to go against. So he has to play the toughest centers, and so it did affect his numbers. And a lot of times during the season, you're not facing those teams every day. So he had good shooting percentage in the regular season. And okay, I'm explaining this too much for people who already know it. But so you got, but I like to explain it because I'm not, so many people say, no, you can't say that. Why would you pick him? And I'm telling you why. Why would I pick somebody? Why would I consider him? So Hakeem Olajuwon, I chose over Shaquille because Hakeem can score. He has the most blocks next to David Robinson, and in some cases more blocks than David Robinson. And then now Wilt Chamberlain. Why did I choose Wilt Chamberlain over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Okay, I like Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Shaquille O'Neal and Dwight Howard for having the best shooting percentages. All of them do. Even during the regular season, Kareem's shooting percentage is better than Dwight and then David Robinson, and it's better than Hakeem Olajuwon. But Hakeem Olajuwon maybe comes in next, and David still shoots mostly or over 50%. Sometimes it's 47 or 49%. Tim Duncan has maybe better shooting percentages in the playoffs. He has better shooting percentages than David Robinson. So Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett both continue to shoot well in the playoffs. So under pressure. So they also can switch to center. So I almost didn't add Wilt, but I'm thinking, man, I want one more person that can really, really shoot. So I learned some other stuff today about Wilt and Kareem's relationship. I hadn't seen that before. And saw a documentary on their relationship. And then I lost the video and I wanted to post it, the YouTube video. Somehow I lost it. I couldn't post it. And I tried to look it up again, and then there was one about the same kind of similar story, but it was a different person. I didn't take time to listen to it, but I posted that one in my basketball group on Facebook. So, and I may have posted it on Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. But I learned some things about both guys, and then I tried to decide. That made me consider who is the most unselfish player, and I looked that up. I studied that, and so with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that didn't in the end affect my decision. What affected my decision about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, I almost keep forgetting, is that it was just between him and Hakeem Olajuwon and Wilt. It came down to him, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Wilt. And so David Robinson was no longer in that picture. But there were reasons Dwight Howard came into that picture. And there could be other centers that do. And then I looked at Nikola Jokic because he has the best PER rating of all time right now. So, and LeBron and Jordan are right there with him, right? But so, and I looked at different ratings like that, and Jordan and LeBron every other year had, and Wilt Chamberlain had the best PR ratings of all time. It was Jordan and Wilt before LeBron came. And so, and that's from scoring a lot of points. So that's another thing where I thought, I did a retake on Wilt, and I thought, is it because he's selfish? Now, the year that I looked at who's the most unselfish player, Wilt Chamberlain or David Robinson or Bill Russell. And so Wilt Chamberlain, you have to wonder if that one year he did all those assists, he was just doing it to prove a point. Was he really being a team player? I think they won a championship that year. I'm not sure. But they said he did take a less shooter. He changed the shooter role also for the team, not just to prove he could do assists and wasn't going to be a ball hog or whatever. And so when he went to the Lakers and played with Jerry West and them, I didn't take time to look this up, but I want to learn that better. What year did he win the championship with that group? And so he had some good players, and he ends up playing more defense and not shooting as much. And and passing the ball, and he led the league in assists. He said he had a large. I think he averaged 8 assists a game or something. It was a lot. So he's trying to prove a point. Is that team play if you're just trying to prove a point for your stats? It's your stat. So he was accused of stat loading before that, trying to just play for the stats. And it seems like maybe he was playing for the assist stats now. And so I had to question whether he's ever a balanced team player. But when I have a center, I kind of like that in one way to know if, but I want a guy to stick to one thing. I want to know that he's going to be a consistent scorer. Like Shaq, I like Shaq and Dwight for that. They consistently go to the basket. I like that part. But Wilt Chamberlain's the better defensive player over Shaquille, and he's the better defensive player. I don't know about over Dwight. That's debatable. I think he is in the paint. It's debatable. I forget now. I heard some things that shocked me, surprised me about Dwight Howard. So that's something I have to just refresh my memory on. But he was better. He's better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on defense. Hakeem Olajuwon's better, and he wasn't. Hakeem Olajuwon's not better on the PER, all the PER ratings and those things, but he's up there pretty close. But sometimes those ratings are affected by your team, and sometimes they're affected by, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's not always the proper measures when it comes to plus minus. A lot of times that's your team, how your team plays with you. If you fit in with your team good and you're the missing piece to the puzzle, like LeBron goes in and he has one of the best plus minuses ever. And so, but he's the guy that's coordinating the offense. So obviously when he goes out, the offense isn't as coordinated. He comes in and they're all used to working with him, and he's passing the ball around. So he got a good PER. Plus minus. And I think Jordan still had a good plus minus. But on some charts I saw it was just LeBron and Jokic. LeBron and Magic. LeBron's ahead of Magic on one of those. So some of it's confusing. Sometimes it's contradictory. It's not consistent. But there's just a few reasons I chose Hakeem Olajuwon and then Wilt Chamberlain. And but also I'll just point out Kevin Garnett can guard guards. He can switch and guard any player on the court. Tim Duncan can do the same thing. And you wouldn't think so by the eye test. Tim Duncan doesn't look that quick, but he knows he plays smart. And he's quicker than he looks, by the way, but he just keeps his position and stays upright, and he has a way he plays, but he's a top defensive player. So I like Garnett because he can shoot the three-pointer. I think Tim Duncan hardly ever does. Did I say Kevin Garnett a second ago? He shoots the three sometimes. He can spread the ball out. He has a good jumper. He's good at a lot of things. And so he's been underrated, and he's pretty good on some of these intrinsic variables and all those charts too. He's not the highest, but on some of them he is close to the highest. So, and he's one of the best defensive players, good offensive player, right? But mainly I like the fact that he can play stretch four. And Tim Duncan's considered a stretch four, even though he doesn't shoot threes. So he still stretches, can spread the floor a little bit. So I was hesitant to put Tim Duncan because I'd like to stretch the floor even more with Dirk Nowitzki or something, but I wanted to keep defense on the court. So we got scores. We have good scores with Wilt Chamberlain and Hakeem Olajuwon. And so Tim and my power forwards are pretty good scorers, but they're great defenders. And I got Larry Bird. Maybe Kawhi Leonard's coming to my team. I may keep or change Steph Curry. Not sure. I may keep or change Grant Hill, but I like him. May not be as good on three-pointers as I thought, but he was for a while later in his career, I think. Maybe he hadn't been shooting them earlier on. But he dealt with injuries, but he's good, man. I put him – there's a reason Kobe Bryant's not on there because his shooting, if you look at his shooting percentages, they're just not as good as I want. Grant Hill is a little better than Kobe, I think, on shooting percentage for a period of years. He may only be as good, but the problem thing is I like Grant Hill because he switches. He's more of a team player. If I'm going to have a ball hog, I want it to be Jordan. But I almost put Grant Hill and somebody else that's not a ball hog. I'm not the guy that wants somebody hogging the ball. I want them sharing the ball. That's why I looked at unselfish players. So I like David Robinson for that because he's not selfish. I like Bill Russell for that, but you still have to have you got to share the ball plus still keep a good shooting percentage. So I'm trying to make the best team possible here. To me, this is maybe the best team because you got LeBron, you got Jordan, you got Larry Bird, and I'm going to have Kawhi Leonard. I think it's hard to. I want to keep Kevin Durant, but Kawhi Leonard's a great defensive player. So, and he shoots his percentages are just as high as Durant. Durant has the best percentages of everybody in history, maybe from the perimeter, and Kawhi Leonard is right there, close to Kevin Durant's percentages. But Kevin can score a lot more than Kawhi does. So. But Kawhi is one of the best defensive players of all time in his prime. So, so I've considered putting Kevin Durant at even at shooting guard instead of Grant Hill. I might still consider that. He had played shooting guard some before, and I've also considered putting him at power forward, at my number 2 power forward to play stretch 4 sometimes instead of either Tim Duncan. It's hard to know if I want to let go of Tim Duncan or Garnett. So Kevin Durant's not a great defender, but he's a good defender. He was a better defender before he tore his Achilles, I think. But I mean, I haven't noticed him slowing down, but I haven't watched him a lot on defense. I haven't observed his defense in comparison to what it was before. But Achilles, I couldn't believe he came back from that as well as he did, because that's a bad injury. So a lot of people never return from that. So, so I base it on how good he was before his Achilles. So when I'm taking him on the team, I'm talking about when he's in his prime. So he did have good defense then, and he could. So do I want him though defending stretch 4 players, or can he switch with Larry Bird, or what? Because I don't know how tough he is if his defense is best at the stretch 4 or if it's better in the perimeter. But so I still debate those things, but I think I'm pretty close to figuring out who the best players were, and why not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar over. I do have Kareem in my top 3 centers, and then I'm also going to reevaluate: are our centers higher up than LeBron and Jordan because of impact, percentage, effectiveness, effect rate, and it looks like maybe they're not, because the P. What is the PE? Is it PER? It's what does that mean? I keep forgetting. I haven't worked with this in a while, I'll tell you that. I've just come back rusty. You don't have to know everything. If I knew everything, then I wouldn't be able to learn anything. I wouldn't be chasing this and trying to learn it. But it's your player efficiency rating, I think it's called. So PER, player efficiency rating. That sounds right? So player efficiency rating is higher with LeBron James and Michael Jordan and Nikola Jokic. And that's because these guys do a lot of assists. So they pass the ball around. They're good passers and they're good scorers. And that affects their efficiency rating. And they're good rebounders, right? So and they don't have so many it also factors in how many turnovers you have. If you don't have many turnovers, that helps your PER score. So that's a valid score, and it's based on your own stats. So that one's the most valid score, and I weighed into that a lot. And there's a new one called Volts. It's not Voltsy like the phones, but it's something brand new. I just saw it earlier. Vortex. I don't know I forget what they called it, but it measures a few other things. And I just kind of looked at that and respected that chart too. But that one chart had different things, and it factored in variable your whole year of play and who had the best years. And I don't know all the measurements, but it made sense that who had the most impact. I can think it measured their impact overall for a whole year, and Jordan and LeBron were in the tops a lot. It showed different. They didn't just have them in the tops; they showed the strongest years, all the way down to the weakest years by the rating number that ended up being the not quotient, the sum. All right, my brain's dead recently. I don't know what it is. I'm catching up on a lot of sleep, but my brain is it's working better analytically, but memory is not as good as it had been before. But what do you call it when you add 1 + 1 = 2, the sum? All right, I'll say that and I'll forget what I was talking about. But when you add up all those uh, per year who had the best impact, we'll just call it that, the best impact. Um, and so one year you had Jordan, the next year LeBron, the next year was Jordan. I mean, the next highest rating was Jordan in a different year, and then LeBron. So it was kind of went like that for a lot of them, and so a lot of years those guys had the best ratings, and it was a legitimate measure. So they're not just making stuff up. And I'd say in some cases Staley was clueless as to how they come up with stuff, and they have tried to make Jordan look better than he is by pretending Pippen doesn't exist. But according to they know he's the best according to these ratings. So, but they just they kind of want to keep us guessing sometimes. That's Hollywood. That's the guys trying to do the entertainment, and that's I like some of the fact that in the last few years, basketball players have gotten more involved, or pro athletes, former athletes have gotten involved in the media and evaluating players and all those things. It had its downside in some things, but it also they do want most of them who really want played to be the best, and they want to know who the best is too, according to stats and everything else. Most of them want the honest truth on that, and so do I. And so now it's not true that only a basketball player who's experienced something can tell something who's the best and all that, because you got Kobe Bryant. All right, a lot of people have misjudged Kobe Bryant, and I can't say 100% that he's been misjudged, because there are variables. Like if somebody has a strong motor and just keeps going and going and going, and they take the weight on their shoulders to shoot more shots, and it takes their efficiency down, there's percent down, but maybe they're still taking a heavy enough load and shooting well enough that it might be a better percentage for the team than it would if you passed it to another player who missed more than you do. It's possible that happens, but I don't. And the fact that he shoots more spots, some people say, well, that it's going to make his rating go down, but he's still the best shooter. But these other guys can't shoot anywhere on the court, but he can, and that still messes up the defense. Yeah, but he's missed more shots than everybody else. Not because he shot the most, not because he played the most and scored. He also scored the most. That's not the case. He's actually missed more percentage-wise. So, but the point is, the players who played against him, they'll say, well, to them it's going to seem like he's the best player because he's coming at them all the time, always challenging them, and he's hard to stop. So he's a threat because he's the only one allowed to threaten you the whole game, just about, right? So you see him as a threat if you're a player, but you're not. You're just catching up on learning all the percentages, kind of like I am. A lot of players are, and haven't had time to study that stuff. Then you look at the percentages. You're saying his percentage. He didn't make as many shots as LeBron per 10 shots. LeBron made 5, and Kobe made 4 in the games because LeBron took smarter shots, higher percentage shots, better shot selection. Kobe's kind of ball hogging a little more. I prefer a team player, and any good coach, Bobby Knight in college, wants team ball. It's going to be team ball, but he's still like Michael Jordan though, even though he kind of is a ball hog. But Michael Jordan played at the highest efficiency. Even though he hogged the ball some, he always shot at the highest efficiency. So it's debatable whether it's better to pass the ball sometimes, because the chances are he's gonna make it more than somebody that he passes it to well, and on it consistently. So it's debatable sometimes because he did learn how to use himself as a decoy. He didn't just always hog it. He used himself as a decoy. He'd trick people into coming to double teaming him, and then he'd pass it. So, but LeBron made an effort to spread the ball around. I like players that do that kind of thing, but it's debatable which one's better, and it just depends on who's on your team and how it works out sometimes. You got to know when your team has energy and when they don't, and you got to know, in LeBron's case, you got to know when to hog it a little more and when not to. I don't mean hog, but take it more. But I'm running out of time. I can't go over 30 minutes, and just that's all I'm going to say for now. I'll probably update some more. I still got some more studying to do, but I'm glad I got that study out of my way and I was able to find time to do it. But you don't have to know everything to talk. Don't listen to these people out there. You could talk if you want. You need to learn. It's not for them to be calling somebody dumb who doesn't know everything about this stuff, because there's a lot to learn about it, and they're missing it.